My name is Linda, and if you want to hear more stories from older people, subscribe to the channel Family Secrets and let me know where you are listening from. The scent of hot cider and freshly baked turkey filled my Denver home on Christmas Eve. 22 people sat around the table I'd meticulously decorated for 3 days with gold lights, poinsettias, and my mother's embroidered tablecloths. Amidst all this effort and lingering hope, my daughter-in-law, Valerie, held my grandfather's 4-generation-old pocket watch between 2 fingers as if it burned her. "Seriously, Elizabeth," she sneered, "a scratched old watch? It's cheap trash." Her words cut through the festive air. The conversation died. A fork clattered. Then came the gesture. She lifted the watch for everyone to see and let it drop. The dull, final sound of metal and glass hitting the floor echoed through the silence. I looked at my son, Matthew, sitting beside her, eyes glued to his plate. He trembled slightly but said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Then Valerie's mother, Grace, laughed, a mocking, contemptuous sound. "Oh, Elizabeth," she chortled, "always so dramatic. Couldn't you buy something decent?" My sister, Olivia, rose immediately, but Valerie coldly interrupted. "This is a family matter, Olivia. Don't get involved." I knelt slowly, picked up the broken watch, wiped it with my napkin, and placed it in my dress pocket. Standing, I felt no tremor, no tears, only a definitive break inside. I pulled out my phone. Valerie smiled smugly. Matthew still hadn't looked up. I dialed Mr. Salazar, the BMW agency manager. "I need you to recover a vehicle. A BMW 5 Series, license plate XYZ 923K, tonight." "Yes, now. I'll pay triple the tow fee." Valerie's smile vanished. Next, I called Roger, my accountant. "Remove Matthew Montero from all corporate accounts immediately." "No, it's not a mistake. Do it now." Matthew finally spoke. "Mom, you're overreacting. Valerie was just..." I looked at him, a stranger. "You had 38 seconds, I told him, my voice quiet but firm. 38 seconds while your wife trampled on the memory of your great-grandfather. And you said nothing." Then, I dialed telephone banking. "I need to freeze 2 credit cards in my name ending in 4156 and 8923. "Cancel," I clarified, looking Valerie in the eye. "You can't do this." Valerie screamed, rising. I walked to Roderick, my lawyer. "Roderick, are you free tomorrow morning? I need to update my will." Valerie's face went instantly pale. "No, you can't," she shrieked. "I can," I replied. And in this instant of absolute silence, I knew I had made the best decision of my life. My name is Elizabeth Montero, 67 years old. I wasn't born rich. Every dollar I have carries the weight of cracked hands and sleepless nights. My grandfather, Nest, owned a hardware store in Phoenix, a man of few words who taught me dignity through honest work. The watch Valerie destroyed was his, given to him in 1952. He gave it to me on his deathbed when I was 17, telling me to care for the business. I married Robert Montero at 23. Together, we built the hardware store into something solid. We had one son, Matthew. Robert died when Matthew was 14, leaving me with a teenager, a debt-ridden store, and a gaping hole in my chest. For 6 months, I didn't know if we'd survive. One morning, surrounded by bills, I opened my grandfather's watch. Inside, he had engraved, "Courage is in continuing when everyone else gives up." I dried my tears, renegotiated debts, found new suppliers, and even carried heavy bags myself. Matthew helped, telling me, "We're a team, Mom." It took 3 years, but we emerged stronger. By Matthew's 25th birthday, we had 3 successful hardware stores, employing 42 people, generating $6 million a year. My life revolved around my businesses and my son. "One day all of this will be yours, son," I'd tell him. He'd reply, "I want it to be ours always." Then Valerie Sandrell arrived 4 years ago, at a construction materials exhibition. Matthew was 33, she 29. Tall, thin, perfectly styled, a lifestyle influencer with 180,000 followers. Matthew was fascinated. From the moment I saw her evaluate me, I felt something cold. She didn't like me, and I didn't trust her. But my son was in love. Her first 3 months were a perfect performance. Charming, respectful, praising my cooking, though she barely ate. She claimed to live in an apartment with $45,000 monthly rent from her social media earnings. This vagueness bothered me. I investigated. My niece, Danielle, in digital marketing, confirmed my suspicions. "Aunt, this smells like bought followers. This does not generate the money she claims." I confronted Valerie subtly over lunch. "My son is everything I have," I told her, "and I need to be sure that whoever is by his side loves him for who he is, not for what he has." Her expression briefly flashed cold and calculating. "I promise you that I love Matthew. I'm not interested in his money." Liar. I knew it. That night, I urged Matthew to slow down. His reaction was sharp. "Why do you always do this, Mom? No girlfriend of mine has ever been enough for you." He left, slamming the door. A week later, he called. "Mom, I proposed to Valerie. She said yes." My world tilted. I murmured congratulations, a lie born of love. Valerie used the 6 months before the wedding to transform into the perfect Instagram bride. Away from the cameras, it was a different story. "I've been looking at options for wedding venues," she informed me, showing me an estate. "The full package costs $850,000. Matthew says you wanted to help." She didn't ask, she assumed. Cornered, I agreed. It was almost all I had saved that year. The wedding was picture perfect, cold in person. I watched my son marry a woman I knew, deep down, didn't love him. The honeymoon to Maui was also paid by me. Upon their return, they moved into my house temporarily. Months turned into 2 years. Valerie began changing my home, first small things, then bigger. The photo of Robert and me, on the living room wall for 25 years, disappeared. "It makes the living room look like a museum," she declared. Matthew said nothing. Then Grace, Valerie's mother, arrived with 3 suitcases, evicted from her Houston apartment. She settled in, criticizing everything, while Valerie backed her up. They whispered, laughed, and looked at me as if I were the intruder. Matthew, once my Sunday breakfast companion, grew distant. "Mom, Valerie, and I want to rest on the weekends." Rest with my money in my house. Matthew's $45,000 monthly salary from the hardware stores vanished quickly. I checked the corporate accounts. His corporate card was used for expensive restaurants, boutiques, a $120,000 bracelet. "These are gifts for Valerie," he said when I confronted him. "What's mine is hers, too. But this is not yours, it belongs to the company." Valerie walked in, tears instantly welling up. "You treat Matthew like a child. I just want you to accept me." Matthew hugged her, then turned to me. "Mom, you need to stop controlling everything." I cried alone that night. The change was gradual, like boiling a frog. Sundays became rare. His calls grew short, cold. My friend Linda noted Matthew barely acknowledged her when she saw him with Valerie. That night, I scrutinized Valerie's social media. Photos of family gatherings in my house, dinner parties, movie afternoons. I was in none of them. It was as if I didn't exist. I cornered Matthew outside the Scottsdale hardware store. "I feel like I'm losing you." He sighed. "You constantly make Valerie feel bad with your comments, with your looks, with your attitude." None of it was true. "Matthew, I've covered over $1 million in expenses that aren't mine." Just then, Rose, my employee, messaged me. "Did you authorize Valerie to use the company truck?" He had. "You are impossible," he said, and left. 2 weeks later, Danielle sent me screenshots of Valerie's Instagram stories. "When your mother-in-law goes to work and you can finally breathe." The comments: "Just kick her out. Tell her to go to a nursing home." Valerie reacted with laughing emojis. I cried until I thought I'd dehydrate. One afternoon, I came home early. Valerie was on a video call in the kitchen, speakerphone on. I can't take it anymore here. In a few months, all of this will be ours. We just have to wait. The voice on the other end asked, "What if she leaves you out of the will?" Valerie laughed. "She's not going to leave her only son with nothing. And when Matthew inherits, I inherit." I was paralyzed. Everything clicked. She never loved me, never loved Matthew. Only what she could get. I backed away, left the house, and drove for hours. When I returned, Valerie and Grace watched TV as if nothing happened. "Good evening, Mrs. Elizabeth," Valerie said with her perfect smile. I smiled back. If she could act, so could I. November arrived. I kept smiling, acting the naive mother-in-law. But inside, I was a businesswoman who had survived tragedy and hardship. I began documenting everything, every unjustified expense, every improper use of company resources, every credit card, every invoice. Roger, my accountant, prepared a confidential report, $1,700,000. That's what I had covered since Valerie entered our lives. Matthew had no idea, because Valerie managed his money, to better manage our expenses. I confided in Olivia, who warned, "That woman is dangerous." "I know," I replied. "That's why I have to be smarter than her." December brought holiday pressure. Valerie insisted on a big Christmas dinner. Perfect for my social media. "I'll take care of everything," I said calmly. She was surprised. I spent $38,000. Valerie and Grace criticized every detail, but I nodded, smiled, indulged. More important than dinner was the gift. I took out my grandfather's watch from the safe. Its inscription, "Courage is in continuing when everyone else gives up." Inside, a tiny photo of him and my grandmother, young and hopeful. This watch had witnessed 4 generations of honest work, dignity. I would give it to Matthew as a symbol of forgiveness, continuity, hope. I wrote a letter, sealing it in a walnut box lined with silk. On the night of the 23rd, I couldn't sleep. A premonition. I walked through the silent, decorated house. "Give me strength," I whispered to a family photo. "Everything is going to change tomorrow." Christmas Eve morning, Valerie came down in a tight red dress, heels, perfect makeup. "Today's going to be epic," she said, taking a selfie by the tree. Grace laughed. Matthew looked tired. "Good morning, Mom." "Good morning, son." I longed to hug him, but just smiled. I held the watch. I didn't know that in a few hours, it would become the line that separated my life into a before and after. Guests arrived at 7 p.m. Olivia hugged me. "Are you sure about this? There's no turning back now." The house filled with laughter. Valerie was in her element, posing for photos, updating her live feed. Grace critiqued the decorations. At 8 p.m., we sat for dinner. The table was beautiful. My stomach was knotted. At 9:30, after dessert, Valerie tapped her glass. "It's gift time." She handed me an apron, world's best mother-in-law. Awkward laughter. She handed out expensive gifts to Matthew, Grace, and her friends. When I gave her a $95,000 Cartier bracelet, her reaction was lukewarm. "Oh, thanks. I guess it's nice." Finally, I presented Matthew with the walnut box. He read my letter, his eyes moist. Then he took out the watch. "Mom, is it Great-Grandpa Nest's watch?" It was his, my grandfather's, and your father's. Now it is yours. I told him its story, its meaning. He held it with both hands, tears streaming. "It's the best gift you've ever given me, Mom." He stood to hug me. Then Valerie spoke. "Can I see it?" Matthew, still emotional, passed it to her. She examined it. "Is this a Rolex? An Omega?" "No, it's a Longines from 1952. They don't make that model anymore." "And how much is it worth?" she snapped. "It's not about how much it's worth, Valerie. It's about, well, it looks very old and it has scratches all over it. It's nice for a museum, I guess. But as a Christmas gift." Matthew warned her, but she continued, looking directly at me. Seriously, Mrs. Elizabeth, an old, scratched watch? Is that the best you can give? You have 3 successful hardware stores, money to buy me a Cartier bracelet. But for your only son, you give him cheap trash. Cheap trash. The words hung in the air like poison. Every eye was on us. That watch, I said, my voice trembling, has more history than anything you've ever owned. History doesn't pay bills, she responded coldly. Then, with a quick, theatrical movement, she dropped it. The shattering sound echoed like a gunshot. Silence. Grace laughed again. Oh, Elizabeth, always so dramatic. Couldn't you buy something decent? Olivia rose. Enough is enough. Sit down, Olivia, Valerie cut her off. This is a matter between direct family. I looked at Matthew. He stared at the broken watch, his hands trembling. Matthew, I said softly, say something. He looked at me, then Valerie. He opened his mouth. And said nothing. 38 seconds. I counted them. 38 seconds while his wife destroyed his great-grandfather's memory, and he chose silence. I rose with a calm I didn't know I possessed. I picked up the watch, wiped it, and put it in my pocket. I took out my phone. And in front of 22 witnesses, I made the calls that would change everything. My fingers didn't tremble. Adrenaline surged. My mind was clear. I dialed Mr. Salazar. I need you to recover a vehicle. A BMW 5 Series, 2023 model, license plate XYZ 923K. Tonight, right now. Valerie's face paled. Wait, what are you doing? I ignored her. I called Roger, my accountant. Remove Matthew Montero from all corporate accounts. Business cards, online banking access, authorized signatures, everything now. Matthew finally reacted. Mom, what are you doing? This is an exaggeration. Exaggeration. I looked at him. Your wife just threw your great-grandfather's watch on the floor. And you didn't say anything. You had 38 seconds to defend your family, your mother. And you chose silence. I dialed telephone banking. I need to freeze 2 additional credit cards on my account ending in 4C156 and 8M1923. Cancel, I clarified, looking Valerie straight in the eyes. You can't do this. Valerie screamed. I walked to Roderick, my lawyer. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. at my office. I need to update my will. Valerie's face drained of color. No, you can't. I can't what? I turned to her. Decide what to do with my money, my assets, the companies I built. You're a bitter, manipulative old woman, she spat. All of this is because you've never accepted me, because you can't stand that Matthew loves me more than you. Love you? I gave a dry laugh. Valerie, you don't love Matthew. You never have. That's not true. I pulled out my phone and played the recording I'd made 3 weeks ago. Valerie's voice, clear in the dining room. I can't take it anymore here. In a few months, all of this will be ours. When Matthew inherits, I inherit. I stopped the recording. The silence was deafening. Matthew stared at me, as if waking from a dream. Valerie tried to compose herself. That's out of context. What context? Olivia interjected. Justifies you saying you're waiting for my sister to die to take everything. Grace joined in. Elizabeth has more money than she needs. Why can't she share it? Because Valerie is not my family, I said firmly. She is an opportunist. I pulled out the folder I had prepared, the detailed report of her expenses. In the last 3 years, I have covered expenses of $1,700,000. The BMW, $320,000. The wedding, $850,000. Credit cards, $410,000. I handed the sheets to Matthew. This is what your wife has spent. This is what I have paid. While she shows off a luxury life on social media that she cannot afford. Matthew reviewed the papers, trembling. His face shifted from shock to disbelief to rage. Valerie, is this true? Honey, I can explain. Is it true? She looked at him, her mother, then me, and did the only thing she knew how to do, cry. It's just that, you never tell me no. I thought it was part of being married to you. Part of being married. Matthew dropped the papers. Just then, the doorbell rang. The tow truck. Valerie ran to the window, saw the driver, and screamed, "No, not that. Not that car." She ran into the street in heels. Some guests looked away. Matthew slumped into his chair, head in hands. "Who are you?" he whispered. "I am the woman who just recovered her dignity," I replied, the broken watch still in my pocket. Outside, Valerie's screams faded as the BMW was lifted. For the first time in 3 years, I could breathe. The tow truck took the BMW away at 11 p.m. Valerie stumbled back into the house barefoot, makeup smeared. "You're a witch," she spat. "A bitter old woman who can't stand to see her son happy." "Valerie, enough is enough," Matthew said tiredly. "You're a coward. You should have defended me," she shrieked. "You're a mama's boy, pathetic." Matthew stood slowly, and in his gaze, I saw clarity. "I think you should go to sleep." She stomped upstairs, Grace muttering insults behind her. Guests left awkwardly. "You did the right thing," Linda whispered. "That woman deserved this and more," Frank added. Olivia hugged me. "I love you, sister. I'm proud of you." When everyone left, Matthew and I cleaned in silence, side by side, like when he was a child. At 1 a.m., we sat in the kitchen with coffee. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, eyes red and swollen. "For everything. For not seeing you, for not listening to you, for letting them disrespect you." "Matthew, no. Let me speak, please." I knew deep down something wasn't right. But it was easier to ignore it, to blame you, than to face the truth. "And what is the truth?" "That I married someone I don't know. That I let myself be blinded by her beauty, the way she made me feel important, the life she projected on social media. Social media is not real life, son." "I know. Now I know." He took a sip of coffee. "When I saw those figures, $1,700,000, I had no idea. She lied to you. She manipulated you. And I let her, because it was easier not to ask questions." I placed my hand on his. "Love is not comfortable, Matthew. True love challenges you, makes you better. It doesn't empty you." He cried, as he hadn't since his father's death, and I cried with him. The next days were controlled chaos. On the 25th, Valerie came down for breakfast as if nothing had happened. She tried to order an Uber, but her card was declined. "Matthew, your card isn't working either." "There are no more cards, Valerie. My mom cancelled them." Panic crossed her face. "How am I supposed to get around?" "Public transportation," I suggested. That afternoon, Valerie's card was declined at a restaurant with friends. A friend paid, uploading a photo of the receipt to Instagram. When you invite someone out to eat and your friend forgot her wallet. Valerie lost 200,000 followers. On the 26th, her cards were declined at a boutique where she tried to pick up a $7,000 dress. Humiliation. She came home furious. "This is abuse. Financial abuse. I can sue you." "Sue me?" I asked, looking up from my book. "What money are you going to pay the lawyer with?" Matthew stayed in his room. On the 27th, Grace tried to mediate. "Elizabeth, let's be reasonable. Valerie is young, impulsive, but she loves Matthew. Valerie loves what Matthew can give her. There's a difference. You are very harsh. And you are opportunistic." Grace stomped to her room. That night, I heard Valerie and her mother arguing. "You promised me this was going to work." "It would, if you weren't so stupid." "Now what?" "We don't have any money." On the 28th, Valerie began deleting photos from Instagram. The BMW, expensive restaurants, boutiques. Her aesthetic crumbled. Her followers noticed. On the 29th, Matthew and I went to the hardware stores. My manager, Rose, told me, "I'm happier to see young Matthew actually working. Before, he barely came in." Matthew heard. That night, he asked, "Can I start over at the hardware stores? Learn from the bottom up." My heart swelled. "I'd love that, son." Valerie came down. "From the bottom up? Are you crazy? You're the owner's son." "Exactly," Matthew said. "I need to earn that spot. My mom is opening my eyes." She let out a hysterical laugh. "Do whatever you want. I'm leaving." She packed, Grace following. "We're going to a hotel." "With what money?" I asked. She stopped, remembered. She tried calling friends. No one answered. Humiliated, she went back upstairs. January brought a dry cold. Valerie and Grace stayed, having no alternative. The silence was dense. Matthew worked at the Messer hardware store, loading boxes, serving customers, sweeping. He came home exhausted, hands dirty. Valerie would wrinkle her nose. "I can't believe you've stooped to this." I didn't stoop. I elevated myself, he'd replied. Mid-January, Valerie came down with a proposal. "I admit I made a mistake. I propose we make a deal. You give me a monthly allowance, say $30,000. And what do I gain? Peace, a united family, and I'll try to be a better daughter-in-law." I smiled, with pity. "Valerie, do you really think your problem can be solved with money?" "Everything is solved with money." "There is your mistake. Money doesn't buy character, humility, true love." "Then what do you want from me?" "Nothing." "And I'm supposed to live without anything, like a beggar?" "You're supposed to live like most people, working, earning your own money." "I work. I have my Instagram." "Instagram is not work when your followers were bought and your sponsorships are lies." Her face turned red. "How do you know that?" "Because I investigated 3 years ago. It was all fake, like you." She stormed out. 2 days later, I found Valerie crying in the living room. Real tears. "It's over," she murmured, looking at her phone. "I've been cancelled on social media. Videos of my cards being rejected, the tow truck taking the BMW. The comments are merciless. Fraud, fake influencer. I've lost 200,000 followers. Brands are blocking me." "And that hurts you more than having hurt the people who opened their home to you." She looked at me. "You don't understand. This was my life, my identity. Who am I without this?" "That is exactly the question you should have asked yourself 3 years ago." I sat down near her. "Valerie, do you know the difference between you and me? That you're rich and I'm not." "No. That I built something real, something with my hands, something that survives beyond likes and followers." "I built something, too." "You built an illusion, and illusions always crumble." "And now what? Are you going to kick me out?" "No, you can stay as long as you need, but on one condition: you get a job. A real job. And start paying your share of the expenses." "A job? Me doing what? Waitress? Salesperson? That's humiliating." "No. Humiliating is living off someone else's effort for 3 years, pretending you earned it yourself." She walked upstairs, but her posture had changed. A week later, Valerie got a job at a clothing store. Salary, $8,000 a month. She came home with swollen feet, bruised pride, and a new expression: humility. "It was awful," she told Matthew. "People are rude, my feet hurt, the manager treats me like I'm stupid." "Welcome to the real world," he replied. She looked at me for pity. I didn't give it. February brought deeper changes. Grace announced she was returning to Houston. "I can't stand this tension anymore. You ruined my daughter's marriage." "I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped holding up a lie." She left without a goodbye. Valerie was left more alone, quieter, more present. She started washing her dishes, cleaning her room, buying her own things. One afternoon, I found her trying to cook pasta. "It's fine for your first time," I said. My first kind words to her in months. My mom never taught me to cook. It's never too late to learn. March brought the conversation we avoided. Matthew and Valerie talked for hours. Both had red eyes when they emerged. "Mom," Matthew said, "Valerie and I decided to separate." I felt relief. "I married Matthew for the wrong reasons," Valerie said, her voice more mature. "He deserves someone who loves him for who he is." "And what will you do?" "I'm going to move in with a coworker, share expenses. And I'm going to rebuild myself, the real person I should have been." 2 weeks later, Valerie moved out. No drama, just awkward goodbyes. 6 months passed. Matthew thrived as manager of the Mesa hardware store. I traveled with Olivia. One September afternoon, Matthew showed up with the watch. "I had it repaired, Mom. New crystal, complete cleaning." I opened it. It worked perfectly. "I've been wearing it every day," he said, tears in his eyes. "To remember, to never forget what I lost when I stopped valuing what I had." We hugged, and 3 years of pain healed. One Sunday in October, we resumed our breakfast tradition. "Do you know what's ironic?" Matthew said. "Valerie taught me something important without meaning to. True love doesn't ask you to give up who you are. It helps you become the best version of yourself." That's an expensive lesson, son. $1,700,000 expensive. He laughed, a genuine laugh. But it was worth every dollar, because it brought me back home, back to myself. That afternoon, Danielle sent me a screenshot, Valerie's Instagram profile. It was now Valerie in reconstruction. Her last post: "A year ago, I lost everything. My credibility, my marriage, my false identity. It was the best thing that could have happened to me. Today, I work in retail. I earn little. I live in a small apartment. And for the first time in my life, I sleep peacefully because what I have is mine. I earned it myself and no one can take it away from me. To all who are still looking for fake glamour, this is not that space. But if you are looking for honesty and real growth, welcome. We are learning together." It had 3,000 likes. The comments were positive. I showed it to Matthew. He nodded. "I'm happy for her, truly." "Do you miss her?" "I miss what I thought she was, but I don't miss the lie." He looked at me. "Mom, forgive me for everything. For making you feel like you weren't enough, for letting them disrespect you, for choosing a fantasy over reality. I already forgave you, son, the day you picked up that watch and decided to repair it." He cried, tears of liberation. I cried with him, out of hope. November brought an unexpected surprise. Rose called. "Valerie is here asking for you." At the Scottsdale hardware store, I found her. No excessive makeup, simple clothes. Just nervousness. "Elizabeth, thank you for seeing me. I came to apologize. I know there are no words to erase what I did. I was terrible to you, treated you like an ATM. I destroyed your grandfather's watch." Matthew fixed it. "The watch works perfectly." He did. "I'm glad. But I know there are things that cannot be fixed." "Why did you come, Valerie? What do you really want?" "Nothing. I just needed to look you in the eyes and tell you that you were right about everything. And if I could go back, I would do everything differently. I learned that respect is earned, dignity comes from who you are, and true love is what you give without expecting anything in return. Those are important lessons. I learned them from you, watching you even though I never wanted to see you." She sighed. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that your words, your example, saved my life. I was dying inside, pretending to be someone I wasn't." I looked at her, without prejudice or pain, and saw a young woman who had made terrible mistakes, trying to make peace with herself. "I forgive you, Valerie." Her eyes widened. "You do?" "I do. Holding a grudge only harms me, and I've already wasted enough energy." "Thank you, Elizabeth." She turned to leave, then stopped. Matthew is a good man. When he finds someone who truly deserves him, he will be very happy. I was never that person. But I'm learning to be better for myself. She walked away, lighter, more real. And I felt lighter, too. December arrived again, a year after that Christmas. This time, a small dinner, Olivia, her family, and Matthew. I raised my glass. To second chances, to recovered dignity, and to learning that the most important love is self-love. Matthew pulled out the watch. Mom, I want to give this back to you. Keep it until I have children, until I can pass it on as the man my great-grandfather would have wanted me to be. My heart expanded. And when the time comes, I'll hand it over with the same letter you wrote me, because those words saved me. I took the watch. Tick-tock. The sound of 4 generations, soon to be 5. That night, on the porch with hot chocolate, Christmas lights blinking softly, I thought about everything. The pain, betrayal, humiliation, but also the strength I found when I thought I had nothing left. The dignity I recovered when I set boundaries. The peace I felt when I stopped chasing love from those who didn't value it. I opened the watch. My grandparents smiled from inside. I did it, I whispered. I survived. And more than that, I flourished. Because true wealth is not in what you possess. It is in what you do not allow them to take from you. I closed the watch. The tick-tock echoed in the silent night. And I smiled, at peace.